we could insert these tablets into some type of a clinically focused study to where the dosages could be accurately and consistently titrated based on kind of what the study was looking at in the patients, et cetera. And so that was it. You can't really do that with capsules because you'd have to make a new capsule with a new dosage. And so if we make everything at 10 milligrams, we can augment the dosages by just like breaking up the tablets. So.
Mr. Jonathan Kane, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. I'm
Yeah,
excited to dig into what you guys got going on.
we got a lot. So
Yeah. Why don't we start off with just kind of giving a background of yourself and Lion Labs and kind of what you guys have been doing in the past and what's brought you
sure.
to today.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, in regards to how we started. I guess I can start with myself. So, um, I I guess traditionally, cancer biologist, stem cell biologist, studied biomedical science for my undergrad and for graduate school. Got my PhD in that field of science. And when I was in grad school doing the kind of more focused cancer and stem cell research, it was just about the time when you could be a caregiver in Michigan, when the medical program, became legal and became a real thing. So it was essentially me finishing my undergrad, taking a year off, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. The medical program becoming a thing, saying like, oh wow, we can grow plants legally, and I can grow these strains that have been on posters in my dorm room that I've never, been able to access before. So going out and finding seed packs and things like that, and kind of just doing I think the first plant we grew was like super lemon haze in my friend's parents' basement closet. Right. So definitely, started very, very minimal. But, all the while kind of going to grad school through that process. So getting really interested in the scientific process and kind of implementing that into cultivating cannabis. And then once I finished my PhD in 2016, and here in Michigan, and at that time, the law, so everything was still pretty gray. So my mindset was, well, I've dedicated 10 years of my life to academia. And I had friends that were still getting in trouble for cannabis legally, getting set up by undercovers and things like that, and people doing jail time. And for me, it was difficult to continue doing the cannabis thing when it was still so gray, after I dedicated so much time to academia to get my degree. So I kind of, I guess as they say, I got out of the game for a little bit. Worked in biotech. Was working in the field. I kind of studied selling cancer and stem cell research and treatment equipment. Some of the equipment that I used when in research and published papers with. So traveled around the world, working with radiation biologists and chemists, and physicists to help better their research. And in that 2 year span between 2016 and 2018, that's when the legal landscape here in Michigan started to really change. I'm pretty fortunate to have some friends that are attorneys that were specializing in medical marijuana, where we're leading some of the initiatives like MI Legalize. So we were really close to kind of what was happening from the legal landscape end of things, and being able to stay on top of that and say, okay, well, there's this change in what's happening, and the laws are starting to become more black and white, and can give a more I guess give a framework that we felt better about operating in, and operating kind of not so much in the background, where that's kind of where we were operating as caregivers.
Right.
So I had a group of friends that, we were all growing weed together. They started processing and taking processing a step further, over a couple of years, kind of when hydrocarbon extraction became a thing. Or I'm sorry, not hydrocarbon extraction becoming a thing, but kind of live resin becoming a thing.
Yeah.
Nobody was really, making too much live resin. Everybody's running warm, running cured resin, that kind of stuff. Shatter was really hot. And so those guys were taking it a step further while I was kind of doing my biotech thing. And then in 2018, I came home for the holidays and visited the lab to see what was going on, and was really excited about what I was seeing. And they were kind of bringing me up to speed on what their plan was and what they were thinking. And that idea was Lion Labs. And so yeah, they asked me to join up and be a co-founder of the group. And I quit my job like right away and packed up, moved from Atlanta back to Michigan, and started swinging a sledgehammer and demoing a 20,000 square foot building with my friends. So yeah, it was that's kind of like a little bit of the background of where things started. But I've always been involved in the sciences, and I've always been interested in cannabis, and have been using cannabis, since high school. And when I became kind of getting more trained in the science end of things, that's when it got really exciting to kind of pair this love for cannabis and love for science together to hopefully, the goal to shed some light on and understanding more about what's going on with the plant, since we've been in a essentially coming out of a prohibition era of cannabis. And I guess more importantly to that is that the Schedule One of cannabis here in the U.S. is really stifled the scientific endeavor on the plant understanding.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it seems like a lot of the research stuff's happening more in Tel Aviv and overseas over there than in the U.S., which is unfortunate. But can't do much until they deal with that, I suppose. Um, I want to talk more about your science background, but first, kind of want to get a little bit of information on your company because I mean,
Hmm.
you guys are very well respected in the Michigan market.
Thank you.
Almost anyone that knows any extraction or concentrates elements, one of the first that comes to mind. And I know you guys have several other brands and kind of some interesting niches with that as well, like Rise and your edibles. And so I'd love to just get a little rundown of what is Lion Labs, kind of in a nutshell, and what kind of brands you guys have in your portfolio.
Sure. Yeah, so Lion Labs is it's a cannabis processor manufacturer. We get confused as being an analytical group because we're just called Lion Labs, but we
That's
felt like it was
Lion, Lyin, Lion, like Fearless.
yeah, right. Now it's Lion like the king of the jungle. So we yeah, we're a full scale processor. We only process and manufacture currently. We don't have cultivation. We don't have retail. And the thought process behind that was, let's just stay in our lane. Let's do what we are really good at doing, and let's leverage our expertise in extraction and kind of consumer packaged goods, go to market strategies, and creating brands around kind of the processing expertise. And so we've got 20,000 square feet. We're located in Lansing, Michigan, by design. That's centrally located within the state. So we're able to be really nimble from a delivery perspective. We can get just about anywhere in the general lower peninsula within an hour to 2 hours. A lot of same day delivery opportunities and things like that, considering where we're located. So we do three, I guess, main types of processing and extraction. So hydrocarbon-based extractions for live resin, that's our bread and butter. We do make cured resin and things like that as well.
Because you
But
could use the same
primarily
equipment, right?
same equipment. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And then we also have ethanol-based extraction for distillate. So we manufacture distillate for some of the products that we make in-house, which we don't. Our appetite for distillate internally is not that great because we don't make distillate-based cartridges. As you mentioned earlier, our concentrate brand Element, kind of our flagship brand, 100% live resin, 100% live rosin, no distillate, no additives or anything like that. So, if you're making distillate vape carts, it eats up a lot of distillate. So
Yeah.
typically, the excess that we have, we just sell into the marketplace to other manufacturers, other processors, other vape cart brands or edible brands. And then more recently, we brought on rosin, ice water, mechanical extraction. That was the first type of extraction we ever messed with. I mean, we were, making bubble hash in 5 gallon buckets in the basement, with a wooden spoon or, so
Paddle,
you're right,
bucket.
exactly. Yeah. And, but as we know, extraction efficiency on that isn't as great as what you would see in hydrocarbon. It's also very strain specific, so
Yeah.
sourcing the biomass can be a little bit more difficult. So for us, we're a bootstrapped group. We don't have a bunch of investment from folks that don't know anything about cannabis. It's the founding members, a couple silent partners, and the four active members are where me and a couple of my partners are pretty much, we're driving the ship here, and we don't have anybody to answer to, that doesn't know about the cannabis space, doesn't know about the cannabis industries, so we can make decisions, pretty nimbly. And because of that, we started with hydrocarbon because that was our bread and butter. We know that we could go to market strong with those products for Element and be effective and create revenue for the business, and then bring on these other extraction methods afterwards. So we have we have four brands under the Lion Labs umbrella. Lion Labs is just the parent company. You won't see anything in market that is Lion Labs branded other than just kind of made by Lion Labs. So we talked a little bit of right, yeah. Kind of like Mars is to Snickers. So we've talked a little bit about Element, and again, that's our flagship brand. So premium concentrates. We're multi-cannabis award winning. We've swept all the categories in 2018 and have continued to win cannabis cups. Over the last couple of years, last year we won first place for infused pre-roll with our live resin joint. And so we do a variety of products for that brand. Like I said earlier, live resin is kind of our bread and butter. So live resin carts, live resin concentrate, live THCA. We have a unique way of making the THCA, can make it pretty fast, can make it in large quantities, maintains the terpene profile of the plant just very slightly. So you still do get the strain specific effects and a little bit of flavor from it, which is really nice. We have a new innovation that our infused pre-roll. It's called a live resin joint. It's 50% flower and 50% live resin.
Wow.
So it's a 1 gram. Yeah, it is. Yeah, they're 40% THC and anywhere between 7 to 8-9% terpene. So really flavorful, really potent. Burns really slow, very even. We have a unique kind of infusion method in the lab that allows for kind of a homogeneous infusion, so you don't get any weird pockets.
I can't imagine if you tried to
run and stuff like that.
If you tried to inject that much,
it's not going to happen.
And it would just make a mess. That's kind of, I think it's, in my experience, been like 30% is kind of the max you can get to with the traditional methods. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and so that product's done really well. I mean, we can't make them fast enough, so we've got some new innovations coming out, kind of just branching off the live resin joint and different infusion methods. Like we'll have rosin and we'll have a THCA joint coming and things like that. So just kind of piggybacking off the success of that infusion. And so the other brands that we have, Dream is our edible brand. We kind of we tend to make products that aren't easy and are difficult and aren't the same as everybody else. So we've done infused caramels, so 100% all natural ingredients, no additives, primarily sourced from Michigan, a couple different flavors, sea salt, peanut butter, dulce de leche, really nice, soft, decadent caramel. And then more recently, we just launched a new product called Pot Dots. So Pot Dots is a really exciting innovation for us. We worked on it for almost 2 years, built out an 8,000 square foot kitchen for it. We make the caramels in that kitchen as well, but the majority of that square footage is taken up by a 70-foot cooling tunnel, 2,000 kilo chocolate melting tanks, and 8 like large size panners. So what Pot Dots is essentially it's the weed version of the candy that melts in your mouth and doesn't melt in your hand. So each piece is 1 milligram. So it allows for a true microdose experience. We use a high-end Belgian chocolate, nice 35% cacao, milk chocolate, fair trade chocolate, and the Pot Dots give you this new experience of consuming an edible that we haven't really seen exist in the cannabis space. It allows for a snackable experience. If you think about how humans eat and how we don't just eat one chip, we don't just eat one nut, or anything like that. We eat multiple. And with cannabis edibles, it's typically like, okay, you can eat one gummy bear, or you can eat a part of this gummy or of this insert
Yeah, a
edible,
little
and
tiny
then
corner of the chocolate.
right, and then you're done.
Yeah,
Because if you eat any more, you're gonna be, uncomfortably high and have a bad
yeah,
experience. And we want people to enjoy edibles. We want people to consume them like they're used to consuming food. And so you can have a snackable experience with them. You can eat 10, you can eat 15, you can eat 25. You don't get fatigue in the mouth like you've had too much. Just like you can eat an entire bag of M&Ms in the car after you get them at the convenience store before you get to your next destination. So you have the ability to make infusions at home. Um, you can make pot dot cookies. You can make pot dot pancakes. So you can accurately and confidently infuse things at home, which is really nice. Additionally, we're seeing people, use them in, what's that, like trail mix and popcorn. And it's a very, it's a, it's the entry to cannabis with pot dots is not an overwhelming experience, whereas other products may offer a little bit of, or may offer more of an overwhelming experience for people. So
mm,
what I'm getting at is, like, I talk to people that are like, my mom doesn't even mess with weed, and she had 3 pot dots last night.
right.
And so we're finding that it's normalizing, new consumers to cannabis, and kind of, not making them feel that, oh, it's just, I'm going to get too high because I can just have one. And then the regular consumers are enjoying this new experience and being able to have these fun ways of consuming them.
Yeah,
And so
it's so smart.
yeah, thank you. M&Ms are, the number one chocolate candy in the world, or in the U.S. So
Well, I think
it's kind of,
people forget that it's an edible first, right? And I think that they, like you said, I mean, I've thought this for a long time, and I've said that exact argument even when I was operating in California. I was like, why are we making 10 milligram gummies, the absolute max per gummy? Like, I understand wanting to max out the package for sure, but like gummy material doesn't cost much to produce, or the candy material isn't the expensive part. It's the active component. So if the active component is the same, why not break that down into more microdosable, titratable components like you're talking about? Because it's a food first, and people want to eat it. If you want to do a single dose, do that as a capsule. You're treating edibles like sort of a supplement as opposed to a food, and I think that's misplaced.
yeah.
So I was very impressed when I saw the hot dots coming out, and I think I'm not surprised that they're hitting well with that market, with any market really, because it's a better alternative than nibbling on a corner of a chocolate
Right.
bar, which I've had a very,
Yeah.
very bad experience with that exact thing before. So
Right, because the nibbles can get, into larger bites before you know
yeah,
it, especially when
you
you're
can't accurately
especially when
dose
you're
them.
hungry. Yeah, it's like a subconscious thing.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, so we launched with milk chocolate for the pot dots, and then we just brought to market dark chocolate. So having a little bit of variation in the product offering for those folks who may prefer dark chocolate over milk chocolate, or vice versa. And yeah, we've got some other new innovations coming for Dream, which we're really excited about. Some brand extensions, using hash and rosin as the active instead of distillate for some of the new products and things like that. So yeah, stay tuned on that if you're following us anywhere. There's a lot of really exciting stuff coming out for Dream over the next kind of 6 months here. Um,
we
so
talked
the
about
other
Element and Dream and Pot
element,
Dots, and
yep,
then you've also
Element
got
Dream and
what,
Pod Dots, and then we have Rise, which is our cannabis wellness brand. So that's the brand that I primarily, I guess, oversee, manage. I might have my hands in just about everything going on with the business, but Rise is kind of my main focus, since my background is primarily in the sciences, and so the brand is more, I guess, science, wellness, clinically focused approach to cannabis. Again, trying to provide delivery methods for consumers who are, in ways that they feel comfortable and are accustomed to consuming. Like, we launched with a few different tablets. The idea behind the tablets was to provide a custom cannabis platform. What I mean by that is that each tablet is 10 milligrams, and they're individual cannabinoid formulations. So we launched originally a couple of years ago with THC, CBD, and THCA. We also have a product called the Daily, which is like a one a day multi-cannabinoid vitamin that's kind of like on its island by itself. We just say if you consume cannabis, even if you should, everybody should be taking the Daily. It's non-psychoactive. It's CBD and THCA equal parts, provides wellness and support to your endocannabinoid system. And a
Is it
lot of
just those
people,
two components, or has vitamins and stuff in it as well?
yep, it
Yeah.
was. So there's also a terpene blend that we add to them as well. But no, there aren't any other like supplements or non cannabis kind of like
Got it.
inactives that, yeah. So the custom cannabis platform is essentially a series of tablets that you can mix and match and combine in whatever ratio or dosage is best for you. Everybody's endocannabinoid system is different. Everybody responds to cannabinoids differently. People's disease types or illnesses are and symptoms associated with those are different. And so
Yeah.
we wanted to give a platform for people to be able to essentially seek relief from whatever symptom it is or symptoms with a multitude of different tablets. So your combination for your pain may be different than for your anxiety, or your different than your sleep, but you're still using the same kind of core tablets. And so more recently, we've brought to the tablet offering CBN and CBG tablets. They're all 10 milligrams each, and they are tablets. So what the nice thing is that you can break them in half for a 5 milligram dose, can break that in half again for a 2.5 milligram dose. So if you want 5 milligrams of THC and 20 milligrams of CBD for sleep, you can take a half a THC tablet and two CBD tablets.
That's great. That's very versatile, and I feel like it's something that cannabis doctor would feel strongly about leveraging that, so that they can kind of custom prescribe various ratios and stuff, right? Have you
Yeah,
seen
that's a
that
good
at all?
point. Um, it's difficult when and you mentioned kind of the studies coming out of Israel, and 5 years ago when we started Lion Labs and had the
Yeah.
idea behind Rise, there were most of the papers that were out were, oh, we had a cohort of 30 patients and they all smoked two joints and this is what happened. And that's like such a flawed study. And
Yeah.
so we wanted
We
to
asked
create a
them what
plan.
happened. We didn't
Yeah,
actually have
yeah,
an
yeah,
objective way of measuring.
exactly. And so we wanted to have a platform where we could insert these tablets into some type of a clinically focused study to where the dosages could be accurately and consistently titrated based on kind of what the study was looking at in the patients, et cetera. And so
Yeah.
that was it. You can't really do that with capsules because you'd have to make a new capsule with a new dosage. And so if we make everything at 10 milligrams, we can augment the dosages by just like breaking up the tablets. So vegan, sugar-free, gluten-free. So their tablets aren't the most exciting thing to consume from an edible perspective, but if you're looking for a health conscious edible, the THC tablets, they check all the boxes. And so, the tablets were just kind of the beginning. We have a whole series of tinctures as well, all made in hemp seed oil. So most people use MCT oil, but we wanted to choose hemp seed oil to be, nut free,
100%.
100% cannabis based. And so we have CBD, we have THC, and then we have a series of what we call a tri-blend series. So like we have equal parts of THC, CBD, and THCA. We have a PM that has equal parts of THC, CBN, and CBD. We have an AM that has equal parts of THC, CBG, and THCA. So depending on kind of what you're looking to achieve, we have another delivery method with multiple cannabinoids or single cannabinoids that you can use based on what you're seeking from a relief perspective. And then we have a series of kind of syringe based products. So RSO, distillate syringes, and then we a really unique thing that we have is this where we're making what's called RSO plus. So essentially, it is RSO plus live resin, strain specific live resin, and the thought process behind this is that the way that we have to make RSO to make it compliant within the regulations here in Michigan is that 100% of the cannabinoids become decarboxylated through the process, and so you're losing the acidic forms of the cannabinoids like
Yeah.
THCA, CBGA, you're punching out most of like the strain specific terpenes and things like that as well. And so what we do is we combine live resin that we're really good at making with the RSO to give back that acidic profile. And I think we launched it last year. A couple months later, put it into the Cannabis Cup and took first place. So was pretty cool to see that be well received so quickly. The market response has been great on that product as well. And so we're just continuing that and kind of have some new iterations. We're looking at possibly adding live rosin to it. We're waiting to see what happens with the Cannabis Cup this year because we do have a RSO plus live resin submission. So yeah, they come in a 1 gram syringe. The packaging is super, I guess, explanatory. So you can. What we find in the cannabis space is there's not enough communication on labels, especially for consumers that are just coming to the market as a new consumer. And so the entire cannabinoid profile with the terpenes, ways to use it, how to measure it, because it's highly concentrated. So a little bit goes a long way with that. When you have a 1 gram syringe and it's 80% THC, it's 800 milligrams of THC in that 1 gram syringe. So it's quite a bit. And so we want to make sure that everybody's using it properly and using it in the most safe way that they can. So the back of the packaging has pictorials and everything and descriptions of whether you're using it for topical use or oral, or if you're using it for combustion, like you would for distillate, things like that. So always making sure that the consumer has as much information to make the best purchase decision, but also make the best use decision for them as well. And then the last thing for Rise that we've been working on for a while now that we're really excited to launch. We're launching in the end of July is our topical. So it's we have 2 different formulations coming out. It's called Rise Cannabis Cream. We have Recovery Cream, which is again kind of a play off of the tinctures and the tri-blend formulation. So we have a 1-to-1-to-1 equal parts of THC, CBD, and THCA. So most of the topicals that we see in market are THC and CBD. 1-to-1s do really good if you look at the market data. Our ability to make the THCA is unique, and we have a lot of it, and it has a lot of medicinal benefits. A lot of people don't understand like the anti-inflammatory and pain reduction benefits that THCA can offer when consumed orally and not combusted to just get high. And so used topically.
THC anyway, right?
Exactly. And so used topically, right, you're not decarboxylating it. So it just adds to the effectiveness of the cannabinoids and providing that localized reduction in inflammation. And so the recovery cream, like I said, equal parts of each cannabinoid, 3,000 total milligrams in the 3-ounce bottle, and then 1,000 total milligrams in a 1-ounce bottle. So I say bottle, it's coming in a squeeze bottle. It is a cream. It's a dry touch, plant-based cream. So when I say dry touch, the user experience is really nice. You squirt it out of the bottle at the amount that you want. You put it on your skin. You rub it in like you would any other topical. It absorbs really fast, and then it kind of like air wicks away, kind of like how it feels that when you wash your hands and you're drying them, there's like a little bit of water, and then when the water kind of like just evaporates off your skin, that's the feeling of when the lotion absorbs. And there's no greasy residue. It's non-scented. There's no stick. There's no stink. And these are common things in cannabis topicals. Not to say that the cannabis topicals that are primarily on the shelf aren't effective, because they are, and a lot of people find benefit from them, but the user experiences can be poor because they leave a residue. It smells. They're in a jar, so you're having to stick your fingers in them. So not only do you have the residue on your hands, but it's on the area that you put it on your skin. We find that people are like, oh, I had to put on a crummy t-shirt because I had to put my back pain topical on. I didn't want it to stain this other shirt that I'm wearing, and things like that. So we're really excited about that. The other formulation is called Advanced Relief. So it's still the same 3,000 total milligrams and the multi-cannabinoid formulation. We just beef it up a little bit with THC. So instead of 1,000 milligrams of each cannabinoid, we've got 1,500 milligrams of THC and then 750 on CBD and THCA in the 3 ounce, and then just divide that by three, 1,000 total milligrams, 2 to 1 formulation in the 1 ounce. So we'll have a bigger bottle for folks that need a lot of it. We'll have a smaller bottle if you want to throw it in your purse or in your bag, in your gym bag or whatever. So that's going to launch in July. We're really excited about it. The feedback that we've gotten from I guess the community of people that we use to kind of R&D products has been nothing but positive. Highly effective stuff. Again, the cream and the pot dots, getting cannabis in the hands of people that otherwise maybe wouldn't. Army veterans that live down the street from our sales director's cabin that hasn't used cannabis but has super bad knees. He brought a sample down to him, and an hour later he came back and was like, my knees haven't felt this good, in 15 years, and I'm walking around. It's just it's so great to hear that, and the driving force behind everything we're doing is to try to bring cannabis to people and have them consumed in ways that are comfortable and just destigmatize and not overwhelm people with it. And things are starting to shape in that vision, which is really nice to see.
Well, it's interesting as you're saying all this stuff because a lot of people have a vision or a mission, right? But then when you look at the way that they're operating their company, it doesn't necessarily align with that. But it's clear that you guys are doing things in alignment with that. So even the pot dots, right? Because that's enabling access to people that might be overwhelmed otherwise, but B, also giving them that better experience. So that's I think that speaks highly to the fact that your sort of central core philosophy is driving a lot of this innovation, which is another pattern that I'm seeing in everything you're saying. You guys are innovating in basically every aspect of what you do. I'd say maybe the live resin and live rosin, kind of more traditional extracts, maybe not so much. That's more about quality, but your edibles, you're looking at the things that are flawed or have room for improvement with existing products, and then finding ways to bring a better product to market. Is that kind of how are you guys going about your innovation, since that is such a centralized piece of the puzzle for you?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of variables that go into it. I mean, at the core, like we all love weed, and we want to, like I've kind of said this a couple times, and I'm sure I'll continue to say, is like we want to make products, for people that they're excited to use and that we're excited to use. We don't really make anything that we don't like to consume or want to consume. Like we made caramels because my partner really loves caramel and there wasn't caramels in market. And so to your point, we're looking at voids in the industry. We're looking at what are people consuming normally? Like it's interesting. Like if you go to the candy aisle in the grocery store, 75% of the candies aren't gummies. But when you go to a dispensary, 75% of the edibles are typically gummies. And so I think that there is a get rich quick mindset in this space. Get your ROI really fast. How can we make really easy products and go to market fast? We kind of approach it a little bit differently and say, okay, what makes sense long term? What do people really want? What do we want to see in the space? How are we consuming cannabis? How can we make it more fun? How can we make it more consistent, more accurate, more digestible for the consumer? And so a part of this, and it's not my background, but I feel like it's become over the last 5 years, I feel privileged to be a part of a group that has such a strong CPG background. So our president, our COO, our sales director, our sales manager, all from Pepsi. Our COO was running Target North America for Pepsi before he left to come to us. So when it comes to a go-to-market strategy, branding, innovation, understanding market data, filling voids, that kind of stuff, it's a Fortune 50 mindset, on our end. And our retail partners are on board. Some of them, it's way over their heads to begin with, but we kind of break it down for them and teach them and help them understand why we're innovating the way we are, why we're going to market the way we are, why things are priced the way they are, and really like stepping away from a transactional relationship with our retail partners and making it more of a actual business partnership, that we're in it together, that we're here to help
Mutual.
grow both businesses. Yeah. Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it's interesting because one thing I noticed about you guys is you really don't play the price game the same as a lot of other brands. You really focus on, I mean, it's such a cliche, I focus on quality, but like you focus on quality, not just of the products, but also the experience even for the retailers, right? With your support of the retailers, like you said, as a partner, so that you, instead of saying, let's discount our product as much as possible to get it off the shelf, instead it's let's figure out how to effectively sell this product at the
Yeah.
price point. You know, then you're not discounting your products, right? And the retailer doesn't have to take smaller margins because they discounted the product. So that's an interesting and kind of contrarian approach, but it's definitely working for you guys. Maybe you're not, you know, in 15 states, and like you said, you're not vertically integrated, which is another huge difference that speaks kind of to your discipline, right? Because like a lot of people, I mean, there's some benefits to vertical integration, of course, but I
Sure.
think there's a lot of costs to it too. And if you don't have to do it and you can focus on the thing that you do well, then I think that can be a massive long-term advantage, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we don't have any interest in operating retail, but because of the expertise that our team has in space to sale and um, floor planograms and understanding how humans shop and why they shop the way that they shop, and then going to our retail partners and saying, hey, not only are we going to help you with how to um, put our products on the shelves, but we're going to help you with the entire store, because it's going to help us, it's going to help you. We want you to sell products. We know that consumers aren't buying only our products,
Right.
and we don't want to position only our products to only be purchased. We want to help the retailer understand that, okay, if 50% of your sales are in flower, well, then 40 to 50% of your store floor should be dedicated to flower. And how are you talking to your consumers that are coming in about their purchasing decisions? Like, what are the questions you're asking them? And then how are your products merchandised against that? It can be a heavy lift sometimes because it's very foreign, to people that are in the cannabis space, because it's just the industry is so far behind what normal, like, retail and
Yeah.
normal CPG is. I mean, my partner's like kind of told this story a few times. He's like, when I was out in California, and this was years ago, and he's like, when he was at Pepsi, asking the budtenders, like, okay, so walk me through, why are your gummies here, and why is your flower here, and why are your vapes over here, and they're like,
It's where
dude,
I found Spot when I
you're
was,
overthinking this. Like, I just put it on the shelf and they buy it. And
yeah,
he's like, you have no idea what's coming.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too, is they're not just behind, but I think there's a lot of ego in cannabis in general, but sometimes with these shops, and not just ego, but like a sort of a desire, not a desire to change, but a desire not to change, right? And a
It's tough.
resistance to change, I
Well,
suppose you
it's
could say.
tough, and it can cost you money, and in the short term and things like that. And I think it's a part of when we're looking at innovation. It's like, sure, we have another brand called Loco, which is it's a value concentrate brand, and if this, it's still really good stuff. If it doesn't meet the quality standards for Element, it typically goes into Loco. And we could do a ton of stuff with Loco, and we could do a ton of other brands like Loco if we wanted to.
Right.
But Loco exists for a reason, because there is a value shopper out there that we want to make a good product for. But there are a lot of other groups that are only making the Me Too products, and they only last. I say, like, Me Too, it's like, there's 25 different distillate vape carts on 25 different brands on the shelf
And they're all the
at some of
same.
these stores, and they're all the same. And what's differentiating you? Only but price. And
Right.
so, to your point earlier, it's like, for us, like, we're able to maintain our value in the market because we're doing unique things. We're making high quality products. We have a high level of quality control across the board on everything. If it doesn't check the box, it doesn't go to market. There's only 4 or 5 people like in our facility that can give the green light on element products going to market.
Hmm. Let's kind of pivot a little bit and talk about we talked a lot about the things that are going well for you guys. What are some, or even just one kind of challenge that you've had in the past, and how did you overcome it? Because I think that's like a great learning experience for other people, is to see the things that we've all done wrong in the industry, right? Like as we're trying to learn our way and figure things out on our own, right?
So one of the biggest challenges in Michigan, I think, is market fluctuation. When you're dealing with groups in the market who are consistently lowering their prices, and it's can be sometimes a buyer driven market, which is just, it's weird to me. But it's just the space that we're in. Michigan is, for instance, I give distillate as an example. Michigan we were selling distillate, over a year ago for $30 a gram, $20 a gram, stabilized at $15 to $17 a gram. And then over the course of like 6 months, it went all the way down to $1.50.
Right, when we were
So
building
how do you,
our distillation
right.
facility.
Exactly. That's about the time, that we first met. And it's like, it's how do you, if your business is only in distillate, good luck. Right. And when it comes to that type of a market fluctuation, but we see it across the board with everything. We see it with edibles, we see it with concentrates. And for us, I think the way to overcome that is consistent quality products with a brand that consumers can rely on, right? Like if and what once you have a hiccup, it's difficult to come back from that, and we've had those hiccups in regards to some product issues. Like early on, we're working with new cultivators. Everybody's kind of like trying to find out like who's growing good stuff, and who has some integrity, and who can we trust, right? And so we working with a group who we had previously had really good experiences with, provided really good fresh frozen for us. All of the products that we made for Element, everything went to market for Element. Felt really good about it. And so we got another harvest from them. I think it was the year after. Was the year after, or was later in the season, that there was another part of their harvest coming down. And everything looked good. We ran it. Everything smelled great. And so we decided, like, okay, we're going to go to market with it. This is the same group. We feel good about it. We didn't smoke any of it. And that was where we tripped up, because unknowingly to us, this cultivator decided to spray the plants after they had been harvested and chopped prior to being frozen, because they saw some bugs on them. The plants were already down. They were getting frozen for extraction. There was no reason to spray them with like whatever botanical spray that they used. And so when that came through on the extraction, unknowingly to us, you couldn't smell it. But when you combusted the concentrate, it smelled and tasted like burnt hair. And so we're getting emails and phone calls saying, hey, I just bought 4 grams of, insert strain, and it tastes like burnt hair. And then another person hit us an email, and we're like, what is going on? This is crazy. So we took some, we still had some in the facility. We dabbed it, and yes, they weren't lying. Tasted like burned hair. So going back, so we went back to the cultivator to understand what the hell happened, and they explained the story, and we're like, why would you ever do that? That makes absolutely no sense. And not tell us, but such a weird knee-jerk reaction to some bugs being on your plants after they've been down. So how do we overcome that, right? Element, we essentially guarantee 100% of our products. Pulled that product from the shelves. Anybody that had that product that reached out to us, we set up a credit line with them with product at a store that they either purchased it from or near them, that they could go and get. If they bought 2 grams that were bad, they could go get 2 grams of obviously of other strains that we made from other cultivators that weren't impacted from this issue. and make them feel good about it. Send them a swag pack, whatever it may be. We love our consumers. We love our brand loyalists. Like we wouldn't be anywhere without them. And so we want to maintain that brand loyalty with them. And if there's an issue like that, or if somebody has a poor experience with a product for whatever reason it may be, the cart leaked, whatever it is, you hit us in the info box, and we set up a credit with you at a local store, so we can ensure that you have a good product with a good experience, because there is failure in cartridges. You're not going to avoid it. Sometimes people just don't like the strain. They're like, it didn't taste good, and it's like, well, maybe you just don't like earthy stuff. But that's fine. We'll set you up. Go get another gram and just pick something that's citrusy and sweet. If that's what you're into. Yeah.
That goes back to your kind of long-term mindset, I think, because a lot of companies would look at that as like, well, they're trying to get a free product, or we're going to lose money by, replacing this, as opposed to consistently showing that you put the customer first and that they can trust you. And
Mm-hmm.
when you want to charge, a price that isn't at the bottom of the barrel like everyone else, I think that's a critical piece, right? Is that experience.
Of course.
It's the same with any premium products in any industry. You buy a Mercedes or a Ferrari or something like that, you're going to have a much different experience than if you're buying sort of a cheap car, right?
Yeah. I think it's important. As a consumer of many different products, I like to purchase products from brands and companies that have integrity, that I know are making a good product, that will, if I have an issue with it, I'm not going to be made out to feel like I did something wrong.
Right. Or
Like
just like you don't matter. Like, yeah, well, you already bought
right,
it, sucker.
right. I take Athletic Greens. Somehow my recent shipment got lost. Called them up, said, hey, it said it was delivered. I moved into a new place. It's not here. No problem. We'll send you a new one right now. Like that type of stuff. No questions asked. Handle it. And I think it's really important, for us with all of our brands. We do. If somebody has a bad experience, we want to ensure that we make sure that they have a good experience the next time and are consistent throughout.
You had to kind of pick one or two things that you felt separate successful operators from folks that are probably not going to be successful over the long run. What would that look like?
I would say being kind of true to your word and to your ethos. There's a lot of people in this industry. Some of them are good operators, some of them are bad operators. From what I've seen in the space, is that the poor operators promise the world and can't deliver. And when they can't deliver, they run and hide, and they don't pay. And exactly. And so I think that's a big part of it. And kind of like you said earlier, we have a really good reputation here in Michigan. We do what we say we're going to do. We don't fluff numbers, or we don't peel off the top on yields. We do a lot of splits with a lot of cultivation partners, and they trust us, because we take this very seriously. The integrity end of things is really important to us. And it seems difficult for people in this industry to do, which is weird to me. Me and my partners all have had careers in other industries prior to doing cannabis full time, and just taking some of those simple standard business practices into the cannabis space really goes a long way. Which I think there are other groups that seem to have a difficult time with it. I have friends that have grows that have decided to go work with other processors, and that's fine. And they tell me the deal that they're getting, and I'm like, that's not going to happen. Like, no, we signed a contract, and we're gonna get this. And I go, okay. So what happens when the market drops, and they have all your split material, and they did an 80-20 your way. Well, they're going to sell all their stuff first.
And they're not going to run your stuff at a loss, bottom line.
Right. And now you got thousands of grams sitting in their freezer because they're trying to keep their doors open, and they're only selling their stuff. Like there's deal structures that look good on paper, but when you put them into action, they fail. And we are very cautious of how we structure deals, to protect not only ourselves, but to protect, our partners because we want to work with those groups long term. So I think that's the main thing. It's pretty simple. It's just be honest and operate with integrity and, yeah,
Promise
yeah,
and
be
deliver.
true to your word.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely. It's obvious when you kind of look at the way that you guys are doing stuff, and you're kind of hitting all of the check boxes that we know requires need to be required for someone to be successful as a company, and you guys are doing all of it. And you've got your sort of philosophy or operating philosophy, long term and short term aligned, and you make your decisions based off of that. You value your relationships over the long term, not just your suppliers but your vendors as well, and your consumers and customers, right? And like you said, you're focusing on not just saying stuff, something that someone wants to hear and then not delivering, but focus more on the delivery portion of that. And I think that in retrospect, that is pretty obviously a critical piece of success in any industry, but especially one as volatile as cannabis right now.
yeah, and it's a very exciting industry to be in. I couldn't see myself doing anything else at this point. I
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely love it. And because of that, I think people get overly excited and they want to do too much. They want to do it all. And
FOMO is bad in this industry, that's for sure.
you can only be so effective when you've got your hands in so many different pots. We started with tablets in a different lab while we were building out our main lab just to like go to market, and like slowly added things on each time. Didn't go take a bunch of investment money to build it all out at once and say, okay, here we go,
Right.
because now we're managing way too much, and the process flow, is just been like fast tracked. And then the market changes and your projections on where you had everything at are now 50% less of what it should have been. And
Or
and then,
90%.
yeah, or whatever, right? Like, we had friends that were like making projections on building out grows at like $3,000 a pound. And we're like, guys, do not do that. Be very conservative.
So do you think, speaking to operators that might feel like they're racing against the clock with everything they do, it sounds like maybe that's not sort of the mentality of Lion Labs. Would you say that you guys have taken a different approach and you feel pretty strongly that it's okay to do things more disciplined, slower, and more methodically than to have to feel like you're racing against time?
Yeah, I think it's important to take your time and ensure that how you're going to market, the products you're manufacturing, your COGS, where the market's shifting, like all of these things are super important to take into consideration, because if you rush it all, and we've seen it happen, groups fail. They fail fast. They fire sale everything at the end to keep the dream alive and the lights on, and that only lasts so long. And I mean, I think you're seeing it across the country with a lot of these larger groups. Probably, in my opinion, growing a little bit. Growing too fast. The footprints and retail and in all these different states. It's a house of cards.
There's a reason why, if you look at other companies, it takes them so long to scale to some of these levels that we're seeing companies in cannabis scale to in a matter of a couple of years. And meanwhile, the folks that are often running the companies as well, this is the first time they've done something that's anywhere near this scale. And so they're trying to
Yeah.
figure this out for the first time. They haven't come up through the corporate ladder. They may not even have anybody that's got that experience on their team, unlike you guys, right? It's a recipe for disaster. And that's why it's so important that as an industry, we realize that the roots and the suits, as they like to call them, both have massive value to add to the team, and you need both. You cannot just have corporate folks that don't understand cannabis and don't have a passion for it, but have the business acumen. Just like you can't just have the OG legacy folks that are super passionate about weed, but just don't understand the basic tenets of business because they've just been farming weed for, or slinging it on the streets or whatever, right? Like it's not a, it's not expected for them to have had a reason to learn a lot of that stuff, right? But that's why you need both sides. And I think the sooner that companies realize that and kind of lose that tribalism and move together, those are the
Hmm.
companies like yours that are going to really see a lot of success in the long term. So let's move on a little bit to some of the questions I like to ask on all of these. I got four of them. First one is, what is your favorite business book?
So it's a good question. Up until a couple years ago, I didn't really read many business books. I was reading uh,
Easy.
biology books and nature and science and radiation based journals and things like that. But
Real page
I've
turners, I'm sure.
yeah, yeah, really heavy books. Recently, I got put onto a book called Measure What Matters. And so I read that, and I think the concept of the OKRs, objective and key results, really help with kind of effective goal setting, and setting kind of like these milestones and understanding what you need to achieve. In order to get from A to B, there's a couple different things that we need to achieve between those things, and planning those out, staying true and trusting the process. I'm a really big proponent for trusting the process, because there's a lot of hurdles. There's going to be setbacks. Not everything is perfect, but if you have a plan and you have a shared mindset, with either your partners, wherever it may be, or just with yourself, that you're going to kind of understand what you need to do, and writing those down and visualizing them and keeping them in mind, I think is the key to success. And it allows you to strategize. It allows you to hold yourself accountable. It allows you to understand uh, what what went wrong during that
Mm-hmm.
process. Maybe the first couple steps went well, but now we have an issue. But not to say that we won't achieve that end goal, but how do we pivot, or how do we learn from that? So yeah, I thought that was a really good book, and definitely recommend it, um, for for anybody that hasn't read it. And apparently it was used kind of a lot with Google, and
Yeah,
other
they're big
larger
on the
tech
OKRs.
firms.
Yeah.
hmm
What's your favorite line of genetics?
So I kind of always go back to this original like super lemon haze that we grew. We it was this thing. The strain was awesome. I wish I still had the pheno. I don't think we have it anymore. And when we first got it, it was like 2000 and it was like 2009. It was right after Super Lemon Haze had like won the World Cup.
Yeah.
We got it from Attitude Seed Bank. It came in like a CD case. And this thing just was like super resilient. And was like Red Bull, like I
Right.
could just like smoke a joint and go shovel the driveway. Here in Michigan, it snows a lot, so
Yeah.
and
Say.
so I have a nostalgia to that. And I haven't found that pheno again since. But I've had some other good super lemons, that have been really nice. And then there's also one that we grew, was that, and I hope that like some of the cultivators start to bring back kind of the older, more legacy kind of strains from like the
Yeah.
early 2000s, like Granddaddy Perp. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it yielded like shit. It was like 17 or 18% THC, but it tasted so good. It looked beautiful. Like the whole part about growing the plant and getting to the end flower, and rolling it up and smoking it. I really enjoyed that flower. We would dedicate part of our room for it, knowing that like it wasn't going to put out, but we were going to love smoking it.
Well, I think that we need to get over as an industry. Everyone knows it. But we got to get over the THC thing because, like you said, there's so many options that are put to the side because they just don't have that
Yeah,
yield, right? And
yeah,
there's so many flavors and nostalgic experiences and stuff that we're missing now. And like, I grew up in Humboldt, so I was around weed a lot in high school, probably more than the average person, but I still remember such good experiences from back then. And it's just, we weren't looking for stuff that was 30% THC. And you didn't even know what the THC percent was. You just smelled it and it smelled good and looked
right.
good. You smelled it.
Yeah, what's the bag appeal? It looked good, it
Yeah.
smelled good. Like, let's do it. Yeah, there is an epidemic of potency, love, or obsession. That's and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And I think the retailers need to shift the way that they're talking about flower in their stores. When I go in, I'm looking at terpene profile. I'm looking at flavor. That should be the question. The question should be, what type of flavor do you like? Do you like citrusy? Do you like sweet? Do you like gassy? Do you like earthy? Whatever it may be. And it's like, okay, now let's look at the strains that we can offer you within
Naturally thin one.
this flavor profile that you enjoy. Do you want a more uplifting or more sedative, or what type of potency are you looking for? Right? Like, I will step over potency for terpenes every single time. I'll take something that's sub 20% THC that's got 2 or 3% terps over something that's 30% THC that's like, one
Lion
or sub
lads.
sub 1%. And
Yeah, it's like a thin experience comparatively. It's like drinking a
yeah,
diluted down like weak Merlot compared to a
yeah,
real nice Cabernet.
right. And that's the beauty of the live resin joint. It's full circle here. It's
Yeah,
flavor town, but it's potent. And
yeah,
so for those consumers that that they're looking for that high potency, high flavor, the product's great. For me, I take a couple hits of it, and it's enough for me to put it out.
it's gonna
But
last you a month.
and they burn super slow, and they taste great when you relight them too. So
It's great. What are some of your interests and hobbies outside of cannabis?
yeah, that's a good question. I'm pretty busy. I'm a pretty busy person outside of cannabis. Avid golfer, been golfing since I was a little kid. So I'm on the golf course as much as I can. And during the season here in Michigan, I love to travel. My wife and I love to travel. We're kind of, going on trips as much as we can when it allows for it, whether it's domestic or international. Outdoor stuff. I've been raised kind of, I was raised on the water, so I love being on the water or outdoors. Like, I'm typically in the wintertime, I'm trying to go to the mountains and snowboard, and in the summertime, we're hanging out, hiking, or bike riding, or being active, and got a love for music as well. So DJ a little bit in the city,
Oh, cool.
here in Detroit and stuff like that, and but
What's
yeah,
your DJ name?
just my name, Johnny Kane. So yeah, nothing special. But yeah, just have always kind of, being living and growing up around and in Detroit, you get exposed to, the house and techno music scene here. And if you're into it, it's some of the best in the world, and some of the best DJs in the world, live here. And I know you're in Chicago, and Chicago house and Detroit techno, they kind of, brother and sister, and go,
Right.
a lot of DJs go back and forth, and been to both cities, enjoying the music. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm busy, but I'm really good at time management. Maybe sometimes I need to take this little step back and rest, but yeah, I don't think I wouldn't be here if I wasn't able to, stay happy, and stay interested in all the things that I'm doing.
I mean,
I,
there's a lot of folks that just, I've talked to quite a few people about this kind of thing. Like, what do you do outside of cannabis? And a lot of people just don't do anything because they're so focused. I think some of that comes back to this concern about the timeline, and being like, well, I can't afford to spend time doing anything else. It's like,
I think it's important. I think it's important to enjoy the other things in life that are outside of, your career. Like you said, recharge is, I tell my staff, I'm like, hey, we give you these days off, they're for a reason. Take them, use them
yeah,
all.
yeah,
Go on a vacation, just stay home for a day, whatever it is, recharge, come back fueled up, eager, motivated, ready to crush it. And
yeah,
that's, I think it's really important. I think, I know that, one of the other things is like, just like general health and fitness. I know that you're pretty avid, in the gym, and we've called each other where it's like, hey, I'll call you back, I'm finishing up a workout kind of thing. And that's something that is important to myself as well, as just staying healthy overall. Yeah, we go out, we have some drinks, smoke some weed here and there, but waking up, going to the gym, getting that workout, setting the tone for the day, staying motivated.
yeah. Got to take care of
I
yourself
think,
first.
yeah, I think idle hands for me is not good. sedentary lifestyle is not good for me. I thrive when I'm active.
Where can we connect with you and Lion Labs and the
Yeah.
brands?
Yeah. So, I mean, personally, connect with me on LinkedIn. So just Jonathan Kane on LinkedIn. I think you probably, if you type in Lion Labs with my name, it'll find me a little bit quicker.
I'll add everything to the show notes as well. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And then for the brands, primarily we're on Instagram. So it's at Lion Labs MI. Element is at Element Extractions. Dream is at Dream Edibles MI. Rise is Rise_meds. And Loco is at Dab Loco. So yeah, that's a primary way. If you're looking to understand kind of some of the innovations and stuff like that and what we're doing with any of our brands, hitting us up on Instagram, just hit us up in the DMs. You can also email us at info@lionlabsmi.com. That's just a general inbox for everything. If you're on Reddit, if you see anything regarding our products, and we usually want to talk directly with you, we have you hit us up in our email inbox and take it from there.
You guys are actually pretty active on the Mission. Was it Mission Gents? Is that how you pronounce
Mission
it?
Gents, yeah.
Mission Gents.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be right, like, to kind of like back to what we talked about earlier, the consumer interaction and just ensuring that folks are having a good experience and really understanding why they're having a poor experience. Did we miss something? And having those candid conversations, with ourselves and with the consumers, that patients and that are using our products, and understanding, just having conversation with them, or saying what's wrong, what's right, and taking feedback from them, and that helps us drive innovation and keeps us on our game too.
Well, it seems like you guys are doing a lot of really good stuff, and I'm excited to keep seeing more innovation out of Michigan.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna expand to other states, you think, or are you just kind of keeping it
Yeah,
Michigan for now? Or?
I think that's a good segue. So I can talk about it now. We just finalized a contract with a group in Florida. So we are essentially going to uh, build what we have here in Michigan, in Florida. So
Nice.
phase one will be getting Rise and Dream kind of propped up. And then phase two will be building out C1D1, C1D2, solventless rooms, getting Element propped up, and then pot dots to follow. Pot dots is the heaviest lift, it's the most, takes up the most space kind of thing. But yeah, that's a new exciting thing. So I'm going to be back and forth between here in Florida, getting that going along with my partners, and we're really excited. We're thrilled with the partner we have down there. We think it's going to be a really good partnership where we can grow our brands, but also kind of provide services to the umbrella through processing and extraction from our expertise on that, and then helping them out with retail, and kind of just taking all the things that we're really good at, and hopefully being successful in the Florida market. It's a pretty crazy state. There's a lot of things going on down there politically. There's, I think, 800,000 medical card holders in Florida. There's 20 to 22 million people that live there, and there's 120 million people a year that visit Florida. That's what we look at when we're looking at other states to expand in. What does the market look like? What is the growth potential for that market? Florida is going to be massive when it goes adult use. So we want to get in. We're getting in. We're getting in early, getting our brands propped up, getting people used to what Rise, what Element, what Dream, what Loco is. And then once it's adult use, it's just kind of let's go.
Pedal to the metal, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we're looking at, potentially Illinois, working a couple things out on that. But again, we don't want to bite off too much all at once. I don't want to expand into 5 states all at once. I want to make sure that, we're not overextending ourselves, and we're doing it right. We're doing it efficiently. We're doing it successfully.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Jonathan. It's been a pleasure, and a lot of good things coming. I'm excited.
Awesome. Likewise. Appreciate the time.